First day of September 2022. We have lots lined up for you, including taking tabs of what the current administration then is doing in terms of making that change that Kenyans have yearned for. Well, things are not looking as good, and therefore, as many would have said, I reminded the president that it will not be an easy ride, a bumpy one indeed, and he says that he seeks to have it bumpy the very first moment, but as time goes by, then it will be a better Kenya. Just how possible is that when you're looking at the revelations that have been presented by people who've been at the top of managing financial matters in the country, and especially when we're talking about the troubles of the country, we understand that the question of the economy is at the heart of this very conversation, understanding very well that also those ones that seek to get into government really and largely campaigned on basis of getting us economic emancipation. And then the CBK boss gives out shocking revelations as to how activities of money took center stage in the previous government, and most importantly, that also revelation that really the country was left with barely nothing in the coffers by the time the last president or the previous president was exiting the stage. Just how then does the Kenya Kwanza, or better yet, the UDA government, get itself in order? That is one of the key things that we'll be looking at. Also looking at the activities and the business of the House, as members of Parliament have been in this long time moment of induction, just getting to understand what they need to do to conduct the business in their House. And we'll be having members of Parliament on board joining us this morning for the very same conversation to get to understand what their plans for the 13th Parliament will be. Remember, these plans automatically are the plans that Kenyans then should have to steer forward. We ask you to be part and parcel of the conversation. The hashtag is Morning Café at Linda_Alelah TV47KM, and we'll be sampling some of these comments that you drop us as we continue with the broadcast. Also remember, it's Wednesday, and on Wednesdays we hit the kitchen, and so we'll be taking you through this moment of a Tasty Wednesday, an amazing show lined up for you as we teach you how best you can prepare some of these foods and some of these ingredients that you have at home. You know, you sometimes look at them and perhaps you do not know what to do with them. Then we give you simple tips of making nice meals for your family. That is later on towards the last minutes of the program. But as of now, we first of all start by taking a look at the papers and then get into the stories of the day and so much more. My name is Linda Alelah. Let's do this all the way to 9:30 a.m. It's always a pleasure doing it with you. The Standard newspaper and the People Daily, as well as the Daily Nation. Those are the papers that we have this morning. If we could have the director projecting them up, but then again, before it gets to that level, we first of all take a look at the hard copies. We have the Daily Nation here and the Standard newspaper. The CBK boss, a shocking revelation, and Central Bank of Kenya governor told members of parliament that Golden Bag-like scheme was hatched by some rogue banks during the heated political season that low. And of course, though hesitant, that led to the shilling's slump to historic lows. That is, though hesitant to name the culprits, the governor said or laid bare the difficulties the new government faces in making sure that they manage the government and, of course, the economy going forward. This is captured on page 11, 19, and page 22 of the Standard newspaper as well. Reveal the new dens for sex predators. Unfortunately, a story captured on page 12 and 13. It's a special report. You can always grab a copy and get to have details of the same. Speaking also of the fertilizer subsidy and the fertilizer lowering of prices, 3.6 billion for cheap fertilizer. And of course, also limitations as to how much farmers can access and how many bags or how many kilograms. And so we'll also be looking at that to see just how much of a relief it brings. Unfortunately, even as, of course, the prices of fertilizer are being lowered, we also realize that we are experiencing tough times as to the rains. And then this contradicts, the capability of us having that vibrancy again on the question of agriculture. And IG IGJ, that is Inspector General, sued over corruption on highways, a story captured on page 20, also happening right here in the country. And also in this, or is this the return of Nick Mwendwa? That is in the world of sports, and whether indeed, with all the difficulties they have experienced and all the allegations that are not so good on the question of integrity leveled against him, as captured on page 39, will he get that new leaf is a question of wait and see. Kenya on a high alert over Ebola outbreak. This, as was reported in Uganda, and Ministry of Health has heightened surveillance, that is at the country's border crossing points, after Ebola killed a 24-year-old man in Uganda. This is captured on page 3 of the Standard newspaper. The front page of the Daily Nation queries over 55 billion spent in last days of Uhuru. Where did the money go? Members of Parliament are actually raising concern and questions regarding colossal amounts of money allocated to various government ministries and agencies days to the end of the Uhuru term, at a time when the country faced a huge foreign debt and food and fuel subsidy crisis. A story captured on page 2 and 3. That is one of the stories that we'll be looking at hugely. This is 1 billion. Just how much did the government spend on May subsidy per various estimates? There is some 1 billion loose change. That is the biggest question that is being asked. And as they would rightfully say, the current government says they're going to go back into understanding those that were involved in the process of state capture, and as well all these corrupt activities. They say they're going to get into the bottom of it to give us more answers, and so we're looking forward to that. Remember, we are talking about subsidized rate of fertilizer capped at about 100 bags per farmer, and the Ruto government then says they will spend about 3.5 billion to subsidize the cost of 1.4 million 50-kilogram bags of fertilizer, but then farmers will only be allowed to buy a maximum of about 100 bags of this. This is captured on the back page of the front page and expounded on the back page of the Daily Nation. Another story, which appears to be the biggest story, just looking at the events of the 9th August 2022 general election, and how Right Honorable Raila Odinga then lost the election, and basking in the false promise of victory, betrayed by lieutenants in his traditional bastions, suffering the curse of false incumbency, labeled a state project by William Ruto, and running a disorganized agent system. Raila Amolo Odinga was flying blind on the August 9th win, devastating consequences. A story captured on page 4, 5, 6. Not to delve much on this, but equally pretty much of a lesson for those ones that would want to get into politics, that they need to know how best they can manage their campaigns, but most importantly, how also they get to pick the right people to work with, so that they can guarantee themselves a win. The Daily Nation speaks of a couple of matters, 4 of them. Almost doesn't count, where Uhuru and Karua were to deliver the Mount Kenya vote, but did not show up enough numbers on the upset. And of course, the change of agents towards the last minutes, and of course, the Secretariat involvement as to the same curse of incumbency, the fact that Right Honorable Raila Odinga had that support from President Uhuru Kenyatta, something that many says that in most cases, when you are supported by the incumbent, it's not on occasions where you would also be lucky enough to win. And also, you need to understand that Deputy President William Ruto as well was enjoying some essence of incumbency by virtue of being the deputy president then. Supremacy battles, High and his campaign team created 2 power structures, secretariat and a board, that ended up fighting each other for clout rather than aiding on the campaign process, and getting 48.85% of total valid votes cast in Odinga's favor. And according to the election agency, this is what the numbers were. Definitely, having Ruto getting numbers ahead of him, and a plus in that case to be declared the president. Jitters as Uganda declares the first Ebola death since 2019. And we also had heard reports that Ebola is a game of the past, but unfortunately it is here. And therefore, like we have said also in the country, we're trying our level best to make sure that then we are well protected. At present, there is no licensed medication that is to prevent, treat the disease. And so we'll be getting to understand some more on that. Also, as we speak about the subsidy of the fertilizer, you also understand that there's a problem of drought, rains, and over 4 million are in dire need of food aid as famine stalks the nation. And we get to understand that in as much as there's this fertilizer subsidy, where's the water to make sure that then we're able to farm? So we'll be looking at that as lawmakers demand more accountability on foreign trips budget. We're looking at that, also just keeping tabs of what the events of Monday, Tuesday were in terms of the induction processes taking place at the Safari Park Hotel right here in Nairobi of members of parliament, and what is the way forward in terms of getting the country to the next step. Those are the key stories as captured. Do we have the People Daily, Mr. Director? Yes, let's have the People Daily projected up so that we can also take a look at some of the stories that have been captured there. And yes, and we're talking about state spending about 54 billion on Paul Eve. This is what members of parliament have been told. Officials say cash was used to provide fuel and maize flour subsidies, but its utilization will have to be regularized by the members of the incoming parliament. A story captured on page 4, and also we'll be getting deep into understanding what are the ramifications of this, especially to the government that is taking up this. And Treasury releases about 3.6 fertilizer subsidy. Agriculture officials say commodity already acquired and farmers can access it from the stores in their regions as part of the government effort to tame high cost of living. More or less the same stories. And battle for Mr. Speaker, equally this is being witnessed across the different parts of the country in different counties, and it's quite a tough one. People going to levels of almost trading blobs and barbs just so they would make this happen. Also on the other side, Upper House bonding, and senators pose for a photo during the induction at Lake Naivasha, as you can see right there at the Alelah Lodge. And this also very, very important, a process as they chart the way forward at the level of the Senate. Nick Mwenda's storms FKF offices, and this has captured on the back page of the People Daily. Embattled ex-football official claims that he will ensure Kenya's FIFA suspension is lifted, even as the sports ministry termed the move a break-in. And we'll be looking at all this. Make sure that you keep it right here. Let's shelve the papers for a moment and briefly take a look at what is happening in other spaces, that is in the world of news, as to what has been prepared. I can see the roads are clear this morning, and therefore will not delve much into looking at what is happening on the roads. Now, Uganda's Ministry of Health has confirmed an Ebola virus outbreak in the country following the death of a 24-year-old man in Mubende district, central Uganda. And while addressing a press conference, a permanent secretary in Ministry of Health Uganda, that is Diana Atwine, said that the patient zero showed EVD symptoms such as a fever, or that is high fever, diarrhea, vomiting, blood, and abnormal pains before succumbing to the virus during treatment. Zainab Mohammed with the details.
After more than a decade of completely eradicating the Sudan Ebola virus in Uganda, the country is yet again facing an outbreak of the virus after a 24-year-old man died from the virus in Mubende district in central Uganda. According to the country's Ministry of Health, patient zero complained of EVD symptoms such as high fever, diarrhea, vomiting blood, and abdominal pains before succumbing to the disease during treatment.
This patient had been admitted in St. Florence Medical Clinic between 11th and 13th of September 2022, where he was managed as clinical malaria. While in isolation in Mubende Regional Referral Hospital, he deteriorated, developed the yellowing of eyes. He started passing out tea-colored urine, and also complained of severe abdominal pain.
The World Health Organization, whilst affirming Uganda's capability to handle the virus, has confirmed that 6 suspicious deaths have previously occurred in Mubende district, with 8 more suspected cases currently in hospital. WHO says it is in the process of identifying persons who interacted with the patient in order to monitor their health.
We are right now gathering more information on the possible source of infection of the confirmed cases. We also want to let you know that on suspicion of this patient, the district rapid response team initiated investigations as they had also been informed of the community deaths. And these reports were specifically talking about strange illness and sudden deaths in the villages of Madudu and Chiruma sub-counties in Mubende district.
Uganda last reported a Sudan Ebola virus outbreak in 2012 and a Zaire Ebola virus outbreak in 2019. There have been 7 previous Sudan Ebola virus outbreaks in Africa, 4 occurring in Uganda and 3 in Sudan. Last month, the Kenyan government asked health surveillance officers on the border of Kenya and Uganda to stay alert after WHO announced a possible Ebola case in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Ebola is a severe, often fatal illness affecting humans and primates. The virus manifests itself through symptoms such as high fever, diarrhea, bleeding from body openings, and abdominal pains. Zainab Mohammed, T47.
Now, 1 person has been killed, a police officer seriously injured, and over 600 heads of cattle stolen by bandits in Samburu County. Samburu County Governor Alelah has cautioned residents from seeking vengeance and wants the government to take action.
This is in Samburu County, the convergence point of 3 counties, Samburu, Isiolo and Marsabit. Residents here are a worried lot. This is after they were attacked by bandits who killed 1 person, seriously injured a police officer, and made away with over 600 heads of cattle. The residents are concerned over the silence from the government hours after the attack yesterday.
Serikali yako na nguvu ya kurudishia community mali yao. Sheria ya serikali nalinda watu na mali zao. Na kama ameshindwa, akupali ameshindwa, apatie watu nafasi ya kupikana. Kwa sababu mtu kuibwa mali yake na serikali hapana rudishia yeye. Hiyo mtu takula nini na hana kitu kingine ya kukula? Atakula nini? Na kama serikali hapana rudishia, si yeye amesupport hiyo waizi aende kuiba tena.
Hao jamaa wametuweza nguvu. Sasa tukarudi. Ng'ombe zetu asimeenda na tumerudi na tumebaki bila ng'ombe. Kwa hivyo saa hii tumekuwa ile maskini ile ya kutosha.
Samburu County Governor Alelah has urged residents not to seek vengeance. He, at the same time, wants the government to act and return the stolen livestock to their rightful owners.
Muko na serikali huko, muko na machief, muko na AP. Kutoka kesho tafadhali mtoe hiyo ng'ombe kutoka hiyo town mbili. Kwa sababu ukiona pa nyuma sisi tumesuia wenye hiyo ng'ombe kwenda kulipisha kisasi. Tumeambia hawezi enda kwa sababu sisi ni watu tunapenda amani. Lakini wataweza kasirika kama ng'ombe wao itatolewa na tunajua ile town mbele. So chief ya Saleti, chief ya Matarba, commissioner ya Isiolo County, IG ya polisi nimewaambia hiyo ng'ombe iko Saleti na iko Matarba. Tulienda leo na ndege chopa, tumesimama juu angani tukiangalia gauliwa ng'ombe kwa ng'ombe.
Tumepiga simu DIG, tumemwandikia message na hatujapata jawabu. Na hakuna serikali tumeona leo. Kuna pia askari ambayo aliumizwa na pia serikali hawakuweza kuja kuona ama kupatia hawa nguvu wale ambao walikuwa wanafuata mfugo. Na tunaambia watu wetu wakae kwa amani, wasilipishe kisasi. Lakini tunaambia serikali, sisi tukidumisha amani, hawa pia wafuate mifugo ambayo imeenda. Kwa sababu watu ambao wako hapa ni wale ambao wanategemea hiyo mfugo.
The bandits are reported to have been heavily armed. So far, no one has been arrested in connection to the raid. Sharon Baranga, TV47.
Nakuru Governor Susan Kihika has made new changes in her administration in 4 key areas to improve and streamline different services in Nakuru County. The governor announced the move to change some areas in her administration, including the public transport sector, revenue department, public service, and supply chain management. Chichi Josephine with our report.
Speaking to journalists in Nakuru, Governor Susan Kihika announced the decision of appointing a task force that is mandated with looking into issues surrounding the transport sector, the operational challenges faced by the sector, and give appropriate remedies.
Since the sector has been identified as a key source of wealth and prosperity, I have appointed a task force to consider, among other things, the operational challenges faced by the sector and recommend suitable remedies for immediate action.
In addition, the governor gave directives on a 100% waiver on all unpaid parking charges for the period running up to August, amounting to 142 million shillings.
I have authorized and directed 100% waiver of all unpaid parking charges for the period running up to August 2022, which, ladies and gentlemen, amounts to 142 million shillings. This intervention, I have no doubt, will afford the sector an opportunity to recover and engage further with my government.
Matatu owners in Nakuru, led by Chairman Stephen Moli, have stepped forward to appreciate Kihika's move to streamline the public transport sector.
Kama muungano wa matatu, tuko na furaha sana kwa kuweza kumshukuru sababu tumeona amewipe 142 million zinahusu parkings ambazo zimekuwa tukidaiwa na serikali account.
Nakuru Hawkers Chairman Sankale Ole Nasieko lauded the intervention by the governor of waiving the unpaid parking charges, noting that the move will give the sector an opportunity to recover and engage further with her government.
Tumeanza kuona matunda ya Canaan. Ya, sinaona tumeona tumefika Canaan. Kwa sababu kama wale watu walikuwa na madeni 142 million. Nina marafiki wangu ambao walichoto magari kwa sababu walishindwa kuweza kulipa ile mikopo yao.
Tunaona kazi ya governor inafanyika. Na sisi tungesema sisi yote sasa tuko mkononi mwa governor na chairman wetu Bwana Muri, na tunataka kuambia wafanye kazi.
Asante.
Chichi Josephine, TV47.
And county assemblies of Trans Nzoia, Murang'a, Isiolo, Turkana, Machakos and Kisumu County have new leadership after successfully electing the speakers and their deputies. Our reporter Boniface Baraza has the details.
Today, a section of county assemblies played host to another political showdown as candidates eyeing the speakership position of the various assemblies battle it out for the coveted position. The first assignment was taking the oath of office by the respective elected members of county assemblies. In Trans Nzoia County Assembly, Andrew Muhisa Wanyonyi, who vied for governorship in 2017, emerged the winner after garnering 20 votes in the second round against his opponent Wesley Korir, who managed 13 votes.
To support our executive, His Excellency George Natembeya, he sold his manifesto to our people in the county, and our role is going to just assist him on oversight matters and help him achieve his objectives. So to the people of Trans Nzoia, expect good tidings.
In Murang'a County, Johnson Mukuha has emerged the winner in the speaker's race after securing 40 votes, while his opponent Stephen Macharia got 4 votes.
I look forward to not a vociferous house, but a serene, composed, and a house of robust and healthy debates.
In Isiolo County, there was drama after the residents raised concerns in protest of the nomination of Kelvin Waruguru as special representative. They claim that the nominee is the brother to Ketu Waruguru, the former Laikipia County woman representative. The situation prompting the area governor Abdi Guyo to intervene to calm the locals. Later, Mohamed Roba Koto was elected the third Speaker of the Assembly. He got 18 votes, while his opponent Hassan Kumpa and Paul Mero registered 0 votes.
I'm deeply honored and privileged to be elected as the Speaker of the County Assembly of Isiolo, and I wish to express my appreciation to all for the confidence and trust.
Christopher Nakuleo, the immediate former Member of Parliament for Turkana North, has made a comeback in the political field after being elected and opposed as the Speaker of Turkana County Assembly, while his 4 opponents who applied were disqualified for failing to meet the threshold.
I have a mandate of steering this County Assembly of Turkana to the realization of its noble role and mandate of oversighting the executive.
Similarly, Teddy Mwambire, former immediate Ganze Member of Parliament, has won the speakership of the Kilifi County Assembly by garnering 37 votes out of 51. And at the Lake City County, Elisha Oraro defended his seat and won.
Honorable members,
in Machakos County, MCS elected Ann Kusia, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, to lead the Legislative House. She managed 50 votes. Members of County Assembly in Wazingishu, West Pokot, Bungoma, Kakamega, among other counties, will elect their speakers and deputies on Wednesday. Bonfas Barasa, TV47.
Now, President William Ruto is expected for the second time to represent the country in the 77th United Nations General Assembly, which is being held in the United States of America. In his 4-day trip, Ruto is expected to make a maiden speech as a president of the United Nations and hold bilateral talks with several heads of state. Chepto Boit with the details.
President William Ruto is scheduled to lead Kenya's delegation to the 77th United Nations General Assembly UNGA to be held in New York, USA. The president is expected to attend the high-level segment of the meeting from today all the way to Friday. According to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, participation at the highest level in the UNGA is particularly important for Kenya as the country seeks to complete the second year of its non-permanent membership to the United Nations Security Council. While in the New York, the president is scheduled to give his debut address to the United Nations tomorrow and hold bilateral talks with several heads of state and government. The country at the same time will seek to promote its foreign policy at the multilateral system, including enhancing participation in the quest for realization of Sustainable Development Goals SDGs and global leadership in emerging issues including climate change. The 77th UNGA coincides with the worst drought in the Horn of Africa, with many countries in the region, including Kenya, experiencing unprecedented effects in the last 40 years. At the bilateral level, President Ruto will lead Kenya's quest to harness relations with the United States of America, guided by the 5 pillars bilateral strategic dialogue partnerships. The head of state will also attend to a working session with senior representatives of the American businesses, during which he will urge for increased trade and investment between the two countries. He will concurrently engage other select world leaders on priority areas of bilateral relations. In his capacity as coordinator, the Commander-in-Chief will also chair a meeting of the Conference of African Heads of States on Climate Crisis. Ruto last represented Kenya in the 2016 United Nations General Assembly UNGA while serving as the Deputy President under former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Chepto Boit, TV 47.
Now, Kenyans may be required to wait longer before President William Ruto's new cabinet is constituted after the Public Service Commission extended the deadline for applications for principal secretary positions. The commission extended application deadline by 7 days from Tuesday, September the 20th to Tuesday, September the 27th. TV47's Moiga William with the details.
Interested persons for the position of Principal Secretary have 7 more days to submit the application to the Public Service Commission after the deadline was further pushed to September 27th. In a statement by the Commission, interested applicants now have 7 more days to apply for the positions that are expected to fall vacant following the general polls held on August 9, 2022. Earlier on September 7, 2022, PSC invited interested and qualified Kenyans to apply for the positions of Principal Secretaries. The Public Service Commission is mandated and expected to make recommendations of persons to be appointed to the President, who will then nominate candidates for the position and consequently the names forwarded to Parliament for approval. Principal Secretaries are usually involved in the coordination and implementation of government projects in state departments. They also oversee the allocation of resources in the counties. Currently, there are 44 Principal Secretaries serving in different state departments. Their term is expected to lapse immediately after new ones are appointed by President William Ruto. Also, President William Ruto is likely to go for elected members of parliament so as to fill in positions in his cabinet. President Ruto is expected to go for his close allies to join him in the executive. On Saturday in Naivasha, Ruto's Kenya Kwanza revealed its National Assembly and Senate leadership, which set tongues wagging after senior members of the coalition were left out for the top house positions. Word has it that some of the senior members in the Kenya Kwanza coalition left out of the positions are likely to resign and join the cabinet. Such are the likes of Kipchumba Murkomen, Elgeyo Marakwet Senator, who served as Senate Majority Leader before being ousted in 2020. Aden Duale, having served as Majority Leader in the 12th Parliament but was not picked for the same position for the 13th Parliament, is also likely to be in Ruto's cabinet.
I am currently the Senator of Elgeyo Marakwet County, serving my 3rd term, and when the party meets and agrees on what role I'm going to play in Bunge, I will be more than willing to continue playing that role. Yeah. So far, that's my focus, to see what I can do for the people of Elgeyo Marakwet and for the people of Kenya through the Senate and devolution.
Others who are eagerly awaiting cabinet position include former Turkana Governor Josephat Nanok, Foreign Affairs CAS Ababu Namwamba, Maendeleo Chapchap leader Alfred Mutua, Chama cha Kazi boss Moses Kuria, former Kwale Governor Salim Mvurya, and former National Speaker Justin Muturi. President Ruto is also faced with a delicate balancing act, having promised that his cabinet will have 50% of the slots given to women.
Cabinet position you don't apply. You actually, it's a privilege to serve in a cabinet position. And I don't think any of us should have an entitlement. Let's allow the president to pick the best that he feels will serve his cabinet and the country.
Moige William, TV47.
The Senate House members have retreated to Naivasha in Nakuru County for 5 days induction course, with the issue of the Senate's role in legislation expected to stand out, as our reporter Willie Dennis Jeru now explains.
Speaking during the inaugural speech at a 5-day Senators' induction in Naivasha, Senate Speaker Mason Kingi has said that it is important that the Senate goes for a push towards allocation of a kiti to enable it perform its oversight role better.
You cannot pretend to do oversight if you're not facilitated to go see exactly the resources that you have appropriated to the different counties, what these resources are doing. And the only way to do that is to enable to facilitate the senators. Otherwise, they'll be Nairobi here, and Kenyans will start bashing them. That how comes we are seeing a lot of misuse of resources, and yes, senators, you're not aware. But you see, how do we make them aware if they cannot even leave their offices to go down and actually do proper oversight? So for effective oversight, we just have to facilitate these people. As it is now, it's like sending a soldier to the battlefield with a gun that has no bullet. certainly he'll come back here in a coffin.
According to the members, there was no clear cut-out mandate, blaming inadequate resources advanced to them, leading to a dependence of facilitation from the governor's kitty.
Wakitoka hapa, senators wawe wana ujuzi wa kutosha ili wakiendesha shughuli zao katika bunge wawe wamejua mapana na marefu kuhusu Senate na kazi ya Senate na vile kamati ama commission zingine ama tume zingine za kikatiba zinafanya kazi kivipi na bunge la Senate.
Regarding the debate on which political side is supreme, Kingi exuded confidence on yet to be made ruling by the National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula in due course.
If you ask me as the party leader of power, I will tell you legally I belong to the Kenya Kwanza coalition, and I'll give you the legal basis. So again, let's leave this to the Speaker to make a ruling. Let me not preempt.
To promote smooth operation between the two houses, the two speakers have mutually agreed to foster unity for the good of the citizenry.
Nimezungumza na kakangu ambaye ni spika wa bunge la kitaifa, na tumesema kwamba ikiwa hapo awali kulikuwa na mikwaruzano na ubabe, basi mikwaruzano ile na ubabe ule kwa sasa tutauzika katika kaburi la sahau.
Reporting for TV47 from Naivasha in Nakuru County, I'm Willie Dennis Njiru.
Now, the court has ordered the removal of embattled chairperson of the Kenya National Association of Parents, Nicholas Mahiu, who has been ordered to vacate office within 7 days due to illegalities surrounding his election into office. Also, in a developing court case on the Aror and Kimorer Dams project, a witness has told the court that the implementation papers for the development was signed by former President Uhuru Kenyatta.
The court has ordered the removal of embattled chairman of the Kenya National Association of Parents, Nicholas Mayo.
The chairman who has been manning this office previously is one Mr. Mayo. Mr. Mayo has been in this office illegally.
High Court Judge Justice Ongudi allowed the application by the new officials of the association and directed Mayo to vacate the office within a period of 7 days.
The name of Nicholas Mayo was banned from assessing the office, which we are requiring the new National Parents Association to be handed over, and he was given 7 days, upon which we are going to serve him with the Honda.
During the hearing of the application, the court was told that Mayo was not properly elected as the chairman of the association and has been holding the office illegally. In a rather interesting turn of events in the corridors of justice, a witness in the Kimorer and Aror multi-purpose dams project anti-corruption case has told the court today that former President Uhuru Kenyatta signed the implementation project papers on the 4th of August 2009 while he was Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Finance.
The notice implementation of all these programs and projects will span over a period of 8 years.
While being cross-examined by lawyer Katwa Kigen, Charity Mbae, a procurement specialist with Kerio Valley Development Authority, told the court that she prepared tender advertisement papers which were used in tandem to advertise the project. This as she denied personally assisting in the insertion of the tender numbers.
Under RDA quorum KVDA.
It says KVDA. And there are 3 KVDA projects, isn't it?
Yes, Your Honor.
The witness also told the court that the then Minister for Regional Development, Frederick Gumo, and the late John Mishuki signed the project papers in the year 2008. Meanwhile, 2 women have been charged with fraud and forgery in Kisumu in a case involving 3 million Kenya shillings. The accused, Rosabella Wandere and Grace Awor, were arraigned before a Kisumu court for defrauding Rana Auto Section Limited, a vehicle worth 2 million Kenya shillings. They were charged with 12 counts in which they pleaded not guilty. On her ruling, the magistrate Beryl Omoko released each of them on a bond of 500,000 Kenya shillings with an alternative cash bail of 200,000 Kenya shillings. The matter will be mentioned on the 20th of October. Muthoni Maina, TV47.
The Kenya Kwanza and Azimio coalition are still jostling to control the National Assembly ahead of the House's first sitting slated for next week. This comes in the backdrop of the confusion that lies on the pre-election agreements signed by parties to join Azimio and have since defected to the Kenya Kwanza coalition.
As the battle for House majority rages, the Kenya Kwanza and Azimio la Umoja One coalitions are banking on their numerical strength in parliament to win the majority leader position. Both coalitions are still adamant that they are in control of the House, even as a bone of contention lies on the agreement signed by Azimio la Umoja affiliate parties following the signing into law of the Political Parties Amendment Bill 2021. The bill set the stage for registration of coalition political parties, with Azimio la Umoja being the first and currently only such outfit in the country.
Azimio One Kenya is not a coalition of political parties, it is a coalition political party. Kenya Kwanza is a coalition of political parties.
Legally, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party has an upper hand. However, the ruling Kenya Kwanza Alliance has gone ahead to lure members of the Azimio-affiliated parties into its corner, as well as some independent members of the parliament. However, legally, pre-election agreement is vital in determining the majority in the parliament.
Those who have started contracting new marriages without a proper divorce, because legally, until you have a divorce certificate, you cannot go having another marriage.
Legally, I belong to the Kenya Kwanza coalition, and I'll give you the legal basis. So again, let's leave this to the Speaker to make a ruling.
The reality might be, yes, UDM or PA or Maendeleo Chap Chap, and according to the agreement and the procedures of leaving the membership of a coalition, that officially these parties are still perhaps within Azimio. But the reality is they have already bolted.
The political puzzle is in the hands of Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, who has the final say on which party or coalition has a majority in accordance with the standing orders of the House.
The identity of, what Azimio is, whether Azimio in the eyes and ears of the National Assembly is a political party, just the way ODM is a political party, UDA, KANU, etc. And so Azimio is an individual political party as is registered, or is it a coalition? You see, I think it's on that basis that for me, the Speaker will be able to make a call.
Flora Limuki, TV47.
And a new allocation formula for the National Government Constituencies Development Fund will see about 21 constituencies lose their current allocations based on a new formula allocation targeting the number of wards in the constituencies. Now, the move, approved by members of Parliament in June last year and adopted during the ongoing induction workshop, proposes constituencies with 3 wards to get 131 million shillings from 137 million shillings, as TV47's Apollo Kamau tells us.
Members of Parliament from 21 constituencies with less than 3 wards are crying foul over the new National Government Constituency Development Fund allocation formula that has slashed their allocation by 6 million shillings, saying the move will hurt development projects in their backyard. Among those affected is Sirisi MP John Waluke's constituency, which previously received 137 million shillings, but will now receive 131 million shillings.
Projects are affected. Like me, I had decided to put up storage buildings in my constituencies for schools. Now, like this year, I had proposed 5 schools with the storage building. I was told now to reduce it to 2. And even the bursaries is also affected.
Despite the protest, the new allocation formula was interestingly approved by MPs in June last year, making constituencies with a high number of wards receive additional funds based on the numbers. Proponents of the new formula, approved by the 12th Parliament, argue the differences are minor and the impact will not be much.
It has nothing to do with the Member of Parliament. It has to do with the people he represents. For example, I represent a constituency that has more than 500,000 people. And there's a constituency that has less than 100,000. We can't be equal. But this particular division of resources is much fairer because I get less because I'm in a city than some of the rural areas that have fewer populations.
The formula mirrors the allocation of funds to the 47 counties, where the devolved units get varying amounts based on population size, land area, healthcare, and roads. The country has 1,450 wards. Apol Kamau, TV47.
Now, a 50 kg bag of fertilizer will retail from about 1,775 to a maximum cost of 3,500. This comes after the National Treasury availed about 3.5 billion shillings to kickstart the fertilizer subsidy program with effect from the 19th September this year. In a statement Tuesday, Agriculture Principal Secretary Francis Owino noted that the program will begin in counties which are planting during the short rains season and be available through the National Cereals and Produce Board (NCPB), that is the depots and sub-depots countrywide. Stanley Nyaringita with that.
Farmers are expected to benefit from the subsidized prices of fertilizers. This is after the National Treasury availed 3.55 billion Kenyan shillings following the directive given by President William Ruto that the government will create interventions meant to make fertilizers affordable to farmers and boost crop productivity. In a statement on Tuesday, Agriculture Principal Secretary Francis Owino noted that the program will see 1.4 million bags of fertilizer be availed to farmers at a maximum subsidized price of 3,500 Kenyan shillings per 50 kg bag, down from the current price of up to 6,500 Kenyan shillings. In the new prices, which are effective September 19th, 2022, farmers will be able to purchase diammonium phosphate, DAP, fertilizer to a tune of 3,500 Kenyan shillings, while calcium ammonium nitrate, CAN, will go for 2,875 Kenyan shillings. Farmers will also have to part with 3,500 Kenyan shillings to buy a 50 kg bag of urea. Moreover, a 50 kg bag of NPK, MOP, and sulfate of ammonia will be sold at 3,275 Kenyan shillings, 1,775 Kenyan shillings, and 2,220 Kenyan shillings respectively. PS Owino noted that the subsidy fertilizer program will begin in counties which are planting during the short rain season and will be available through the National Cereals and Produce Board, NCPB, depot and sub-depot countrywide. Stanley Nyaringita, TV47, Nairobi.
All right, the key stories that we'll be looking at this morning, definitely that of the NG-CDF and also this one of Matters Fertilizers. We also get to understand how the members of parliament are setting themselves to kickstart the 13th Parliament. In studio, full house of gentlemen. I don't know why ladies will always run away from these conversations, and then they are looking forward to have a 50-50 at the level of cabinet. Perhaps to agree with some of these gentlemen that this really is a work in progress, but it will take a while before we are there. Honorable Member of Parliament of Embakasi North, that is Member of Parliament, that is James Gakuya, who's seated pretty much next to me, I'd say. Karibu sana Mheshimiwa.
Thank you.
You're well. The induction process, all good?
Oh, induction process is all good. Yes, you know, like myself, I'm just
you're used to this. You're just
in refresher.
Yes, refresher. Very, very important. I agree. And next to Mheshimiwa is Dr. Peter Mbae, who's a governance expert. Dr. Thank you so much for creating time to be with us. Dr. I don't know whether you want me to say this on air, but he's amongst the few who say that it's work in progress, at least giving us hope that there's going to be that aspect of a 50-50 for women, but we still are not there. It will take a while.
We
we are in progress. Look, we have actually outperformed ourselves. If you look at other, at other areas, yes. If you look at Nakuru, the positions that were left for women, women have even taken the positions that were left generally for men. Look at Machakos. Okay. I mean, we are doing very well actually. If you look at the number of women who are elected on, for example, MPs for the last 3 terms, it's increasing actually by double. Okay. The same case, and my chairman will tell you from CAF, the women now is about over almost 150 who have been elected. You know, like the first county was about 40, then 84. I think right now we are about past 100. Look, it's very natural. There are some things you don't legislate. Some things they grow naturally, and they outgrow what you had been.
So you think the drafters of the constitution really did not?
Definitely, there are some things that we were very over ambitious in the 2010. We must admit there are things that were not quickly applicable the way they were done there. But you have seen that naturally they can do even better. It's only that, okay, fine, you know, we were all eager for that constitution. We must admit there are some things that were not easily. So I agree with Maraga. He was acting as per the constitution. But again, you can see, move it naturally is even better. The growth is is better. One day you'll discover, you may say we are 4 men here. Another day you'll discover there will be all women here.
And there will be no.
That's it. So
I am really looking forward to that.
It is natural growth.
Say that we are our own enemies. But anyway, Dr. Eric Ragalo, governance and political expert as well. Thank you so much for creating time to be with us.
Thank you so much, Linda.
That justification from the Kenya Kwanza side for them not to accord us the 50% at the level of cabinet?
Linda, I'm a scientist. I don't want to talk as the constitution will say, but the constitution of Kenya is very wrong. Very, very wrong. It's impossible, and it will never be possible, and it will not work to have a 50-50 women representation.
Why not?
It can never.
Majority in town.
It will never work. It started long time ago when we started shelving the power of admitting that we need to have every sex taken care of. We took women as a priority, and we left the boy child. Now, the boy child is drinking alcohol, the girl child is being supported in every aspect. We have a woman rep. Then in Nakuru, we should have had a men representative because they lost all the important seats.
Is it?
Yeah, because it's supposed to be affirmative action seat.
Across.
It is not a women rep seat. It is affirmative action seat.
Well,
and since we've lost Nakuru, where is the man representation?
You need to understand that there's a reason why.
We are not complaining from Nakuru, by the way.
And you're not complaining.
We are not complaining. First of all, let's
loop in Honorable Ndegwa Wahome. Mheshimiwa, thank you so much for creating time to be with us this morning. That you agree with what Eric says?
Thank you, Rita, and it's always my pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure too.
And I would say that our constitution was very ambitious in terms of trying to bring gender parity. And I think it is good to have a vision. And I think we are going there. Yeah. When you look across borders, Dr. Mbae was saying, is that when we started off in 2013, it was very different. 2017, it improved. 2022, even in Nyandaru. The last time we saw an elected MP, or a member of parliament, was in 1992, during the Ford Asiri wave. But now we have Wanjiko Mohe in Kipipiri. My neighbor in Nakuru, it is all ladies. So I think we are on the right trajectory. And I think some push on the affirmative agenda, I think we shall be there.
All right, so it is okay to have affirmative action.
And for record, leader, nobody has said that Kenya Kwanza is not good to get 50-50. Nobody has said that.
I know you have not said that. But you see,
we are waiting for the president to announce his cabinet.
You think he would surprise us with a 50-50?
I'm just saying we want to look at a bigger picture of empowering women generally, and we're empowering everybody generally. We want to carry everybody.
You know what I am employed to do is to read what is not being said. Yes. And so when you're telling us that you're looking at the bigger picture of empowering women generally, right after you are already installed in power, then it tells me that what you were telling us before, that it's going to be a sure deal, 50-50 at the level of cabinet, was just for political gains. And now that the gains are here, you are slowly getting me to accept the fact that, well, it is not easy to get the 50-50 at the level of...
From where I sit this morning, I would want to say this. One, we're waiting for the lineup.
Yes.
But number two, I want to say this, that as Kenyans, We want to empower the boy child, the girl child, women, everybody. We want to carry everybody along. So we want to see to look at the bigger picture. There's nothing as good as the intention. You know, you can be scripted to say, you said this, can you do this? But the bigger thing here, talking about now governance, because that's what we are talking about, is the whole issue of inclusivity. Look at that. Inclusivity about minority, marginalized, people living with disabilities, women, men, that is the intention, the political goodwill for inclusivity is more important than just input. However, we are still waiting. Let's see the lineup.
Let's see the lineup.
Maybe yes. On that one is that there are men in this country who have been at the forefront of fighting for women's rights.
That's true.
And I know that even when such men are in positions, that women will sit back and know that their interests are taken care of. And we have seen this happening in this country.
This is interesting. Now that you are speaking about this and in capacity as the former chairperson of the members of county assemblies, right? It's a tussle at the level of, the counties in terms of getting the speakers. As we speak right now, we have seen almost them getting to levels of trading barbs. What do you make of this process? And just how intense is it for the people of Kenya to get to understand?
Now, I think this is politics and it is competitive. And so far, we are happy that there has not been any ugly incidents. Even when we had that standoff in Kisumu, it never went out of hand, and it was managed within the law and the standing orders. And as the chairman of the County Assemblies Forum, Rinda will be heading over in about end of October.
Okay, so he's still the chair. He's the chair. Okay. Actually, my bad, Mushu.
Actually, I'm inducting the speakers from Monday.
Okay.
Next week from 26th. The new speakers. So we are happy, and we are telling our people that let us allow these democratic processes to go on. And when a mischief arises, as we move on, we shall continue curing this mischief. And because politics and democracy and constitutional order is a process, even in America, where they came to be in 1786, today they are still fighting mischief within their legal infrastructure and regime. And they are going on mending it to ensure that it fits to the aspirations of the people of USA. So we shall continue dealing with this mischief as they arise, but they are expected. But what we cannot allow is a disorder. In a way that we cannot manage our affairs in an orderly manner.
Okay. All right, allow us to take a quick short break, gentlemen, and then we'll come back to you, Mheshimiwa. First of all, take us through these processes of induction, and also we take a look at the formation of the cabinet, very, very important, the fertilizer subsidy, and lots of matters that are playing out inside the Kenya Kwanza government after this break.
Disability is not only limited to physical disorder, but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
Bipolar.
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
And even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective. We identify a property, discuss and demonstrate the journey towards ownership.
Professionals who have integrity, and from their catalog you can easily read that these are professionals who are able to deliver.
Everywhere you go, you have to up your games, you have to go with the trends.
Not forgetting the margins as well as the risks that come along.
The runaway prices of the land. We are saying that it's something that we can never go without mentioning. Any developer will not go without mentioning the price of land.
Don't miss out. Do you want the latest news on farming? We've got the WikiLeaks for you. Get it? No? Well, okay. Every week, we give you insights on different farms, from crop farming to animal keeping.
They're very hardy insects, yeah? The larvae is a very hardy insect.
We look forward to having an optimum production in maybe about 5 years. Yes. Yeah.
So we plant every week and we harvest every week.
Join Violet Njoki every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. as we skooma the wiki.
It's not all the time you have to read your farm. Sometimes it's of benefit.
Starting this September at 8:30 p.m.
Hi and welcome to The Grind. My name is Violet Njoki.
We continue to provide the platform that aims to inform and educate on business-related matter. We are here to ask all the relevant questions on your behalf.
When it comes to a catering business, do you need licenses?
Yeah, a lot of it.
And inform you what is happening in the business arena. Be sure to stay tuned.
Of the Council of Members of County Assemblies, yes? Yes, that is Honorable Ndegwa Wahome with us this morning. We also have governance expert Dr. Eric Ragalo, as well as governance expert Dr. Mbae Peter, and lastly, Member of Parliament of Embakasi North, that is Mheshimiwa Gakuya Jimmy. Mheshimiwa, I don't know whether you've said something about this conversation of the cabinet and the 50-50 and the possibility of us getting women, you know, at these spaces at the top of the helm. We understand where we're coming from as a society. It has been a patriarchal society, still is, and therefore it would be necessary to empower the girl child. But in this process of empowering or empowerment, you realize that also they seem to take and dominate and perhaps suppress, you know, the capabilities of the boy child. Are we on the right trajectory?
Ruto, what I can say is that this country has grown, and those days where a girl child was discriminated, was somehow not recognized as part of the real hard manned job. Today, things has been flexed, and the government has introduce equality in terms of women having ID cards, and also equal opportunities in terms of employment and so on. So you realize that in terms of earning, you are earning the same salaries with them, and also in terms of participating in all various fields, they have freedom to participate. But still, there is a notion that still women are fragile and therefore require to be given a higher consideration. But to me, at the point we are, I believe that in fact the field is required to dictate. And in terms of issues that issues that we have in our constitution, I think it's an issue where I would be able to concur with the panel that in fact we must leave it naturally to unfold, actualize, because you realize now the time there was those culture where there are some communities who could not be allowed to elect women. But today, you realize that women are being elected everywhere, and no single community feels that actually those former kind of cultures are something to abide. Coming to the cabinet positions, there was a promise by the head of state that at least there can be a strike of 50-50. Yes, let me say, I don't want to judge his book, but I am sure that in fact it may be possible. Though I still realize that at least considering that the president has to consider various options, because he had a lot of men who were affiliate parties, who joined as affiliate parties, and still I still believe that in fact to reward them, also this she also required to be rewarded with some sort, and therefore it might be 12 over it if the cabinet will be 20. But even though they can secure a 40%, I think it's a major plus. And therefore, I would say I will leave the decision to the appointing authority, and I am sure that he is not going to make Kenyans anywhere, let Kenyans down anyhow across the way. So I still hope that he still stands for the same promise, and I am sure women will get their share in the cabinet, no matter whether it will be exactly 50%, but even though they get something close to there, it is still a big plus to them.
Well, interesting. Eric Ragalo, you know, until the president names his cabinet, we have no choice but to speak about this. Speculations, you know, proposals, according to him and his direction. We all understand that he understands the people that work around him. And I mean, lots of things that need to be looked into. Things that we have seen before being looked into for us to get a cabinet. But Kenyans are looking forward to a cabinet that will be formidable enough to help the government forge forward, to help, you know, they'll be part of the executive, to help the president, you know, man the activities of the country, rewarding of loyalty, getting to that spaces of, you know, regional balance, getting to the space of getting gender balance, getting to the space of getting technocrats versus politicians and all this. What do you anticipate?
Quite difficult, and if I was Ruto today, it is quite a challenge. And you remember a long time ago, once President Moi was announced, within the same 2 or 1 day, you'll get a cabinet. And it was very easy for him. But after the promulgation of the Constitution, it's becoming very difficult. Because again, you need to have learned fellows there. The cabinet is not supposed to be a cabinet of politicians, you remember? So if you are a politician and today you have been announced to be part of the cabinet, you have to relinquish your job as a politician. And if you are an MP, then kwako kutapigwa debe, and you get into cabinet and then shut up. So, and Kenya, we are so political. So there is no way you can have a cabinet minister who cannot play politics. So you have to juggle. So what is Bwana William Ruto going to do? One thing that William Ruto must do is that he must give the ladies 50%.
Must.
That is what he said.
Okay, well.
I mean, what you promise is what you give.
Okay.
One of the election frauds we have in the world is you saying what you can't give. Then when people start asking, you say they are fighting you. Why you fought over a promise that you made? Then make a promise that you can fulfill.
So in this case, we're looking at around 10%.
So I'm looking at 10 ladies.
That are ladies.
Yes, in the cabinet.
Okay.
There's no two ways about it because he said it himself. So in these 10 ladies, who am I looking at? I'm looking at ladies who are technocrats. That's few of them.
Yeah.
I'm looking at ladies who are politicians. I'll give example to Biko.
Okay.
And others who will join in the game. So is the other side of men. I'm looking at gender balance. I'm looking at Nyanza.
Regional balance.
Regional balance.
Yeah.
Regional balance. I'm looking at Nyanza. As of Raila Odinga formation, I'm looking at who he's going to pick from our side because we must be in his cabinet. This is a parliamentary system. In a parliamentary system, we have to be part of the government. Not that he has to come and pick from our party. But I'm looking at regional balance. So if it happens that as we voted Raila Odinga as a man, so and he decides I'm not picking there, that's wrong. So I'm looking at him picking people from regions that were never even voted for him. Ukambani. He has to have people from Ukambani to be there. So it's quite, and here you're looking at 20 people because he can't also go beyond that number. It's not possible. So I'm looking at 20 people and you need to feed the whole country and people feel share balance. Kibaki had a best time. he had over 80 ministers and assistant ministers. So everyone felt, and that was a very bloated government. But this one, you cannot bloat it. So now what will happen? What will happen is, if I were Ruto, he need to sleep, wake up, pray, and wisdom comes to him, and that will work. And
Why
I'm
has it taken
praying
so
and
long?
looking forward that it works for him.
I know Eric attempts to justify the reason why it takes longer than usual in comparison to the predecessors. I mean, under the current dispensation, the current constitution. But my assumption is that, and I heard you even before there was this declaration, and there was that confidence that Kenya Kwanza is going to carry the day. Perhaps that's the reason why the likes of Mudavadi had to negotiate at that early stage to say that we get the chief minister position. And so at this point, we would have expected that perhaps the president then was also looking at some of the faces that he would incorporate in his cabinet. Why does it take so long that we still have the cabinet secretaries from the previous government holding these positions? And when you get revelations of how monies have disappeared at this point of an election, then don't you think, is a cause for alarm, cause for worry for him at this very point? Because we still have faces that have served under the Uhuru government and therefore could remain loyal to him.
One, and very quick, I wouldn't say that the president is very late in announcing a cabinet.
Okay.
Okay? This is a transitional government, right?
Right.
And there's some, like he had to be away. We were expecting that thing to happen, I mean...
Right after he's back.
Before maybe he left, then he had to go because again, so much pressure for what, That's one. Number two, I want to state very categorically, this issue of politicians should not be in cabinet. There's this thing of demonizing politicians. There are some politicians who are actually professionals. They started as professionals. They're actually professionals who became politicians.
Right.
So let's also stop demonizing this thing. Actually, from my school of thought, from where I sit in governance and leadership, and remember I've been talking about that, distinction, politics, leadership, and governance. Cabinet secretaries should have a serious background on politics.
And therefore,
because this is a political position.
Should be a combination of technocrats and
yes. Actually,
politicians.
Any cabinet secretary who has no understanding of politics has no business being in cabinet. Because the president is a politician. The cabinet is supposed to be the anchor people, the main anchor people to deliver services.
Some feel like these people are going to get into politics, and forget...
What is politics? Politics is simply who gets when, who gets what, when, and how. It's all about resources of sharing.
So why was it bad when the likes of Matiang'i were playing politics at that point, and it appeared as though they were supporting...
Wonderful. Now, if you have discovered, it's good to say the truth.
Yeah.
In the past, for the last 2 terms, Kibaki Alelah and the Uhuru Alelah, the people who are so technocrat, they deliver nothing. No, you are not felt. Because we are supposed to deliver some areas and make sure that we are being seen and felt. There's a way a politician, will exposit or will be able to explain the policies of government. So I want to say the PSs should be technocrats, but CSs should have a serious bearing. Let me put those words. A very serious understanding of politics. No, this is of condemnation. No, we don't want it. The other thing is that we are going to see some people quickly, so that's number one. And quickly, because we are still talking about, we are still in this country, the same case with governors. Please, my advice, you get people who have no understanding of the wards, who don't know the villages, they are the ministers, you as a governor are going to be forced to do the work. So get people who understand politics, the CEOs, get people who are technocrats. Now quickly, this issue of there are still some in the office. It's very clear. Let it be very clear. And I think I'm happy because we have, I have my chairman here of CAF. From where I sit, the term of CS and PS stops
at that point
with the president. Yes. Let us not have confusion. I have seen that confusion, and I hope the chairman will help the governors. You get to the county government. Of course, CCs understand because there was a court order. You go with the governor. Right. But some PSs, CEOs rather, had given themselves contracts, start going for 5 years. And it started maybe 1 year after the governor came in. So the governor is coming and told, no, you cannot advertise CEOs because we all have letters. And if you want us to go, you pay us, or we go to court. Let us be very clear. Let us not have confusion. The term of, you come with your CS and PS. Governor comes with your CEC and your CEO, and then the governor staff around there. So what are we looking at? We are not yet late. What I can tell you, yes, of course, there are some rumors that some people are going to forfeit their seats. Of course, you can see someone like Kipchumba Murkomen, for example. We are all speculating. It's not official. I mean, he has served 2 terms. He's a senior guy in this country. He has fought so hard for this government. There's no harm. What we don't know to encourage, that one I must say. We don't encourage, again, you have to decide from the word go. Gakuya, were you interested with the legislature or executive?
Executive.
So generally, we don't also to encourage that because there are also other people who can serve in the executive. But if you look at cases like Adwan Duwari, I don't know how he has outlived his usefulness, for example, in the National Assembly. Because we don't also to cause so many by-elections, and then it's a cost to the economy. However, a few of them can be picked to come and fill the cabinet. What I know and what's going to happen, the president knows he has to get the right people. And in leadership, we say this, Linda, if you don't get the right people to work for you here, you'll end up doing the work.
If these are the right people at the National Assembly, perhaps that is the best space for the interest of the common Mwananchi, for them to articulate these matters, because this is where the bills are passed. This is where some of these laws get to sail through. And therefore, by the time they get to the executive, the cabinet secretary office, these are just, orders that they're supposed to execute. Don't you think we are better off having these people that are vocal, that are good, that are hands-on at the National Assembly as opposed to the executive?
Maybe, Rita, first I weigh in on the appointment of the cabinet. And I would want to say that I don't think it is right. The president was on his own in last week, on Tuesday. And obviously the interventions that came in, the burial of the Queen and also the UN meeting in New York. And also I think the composition of a cabinet is not a matter of try and error.
You see, one thing, Mheshimiwa, and the reason why perhaps Kenyans are asking this, and actually someone else is dropping this comment to ask. I mean, supposing the likes of Matiang'i would still be there, those ones that did not resign would still be there, they'd be serving. The very same people that have hugely been castigated by the current government. Isn't it doublespeak that you still have them in office in your very own government while you castigated them, their operations, and say they were not the best because then they aligned to a certain side?
I think this is transitional leader, and Kenyans should be patient and calm. It is happening everywhere, even in that huge democracies where there are very strong institutions. Even when you go to the US and such, before the president is able to compose the cabinet, you'll find that those who are serving in the previous cabinet are still in office, trying to make things happen. And we hope that these are people of goodwill, that they will do the right thing, although they are being accused of other things. But we are hoping that they are going to do the right thing. So we expect that as the president comes back, that he has looked at all these things. He has conceptualized the kind of an agenda, the people he wants to push this agenda of bottom-up with, and that he will do according to the expectations of Kenyans. Because the Kenyans elected him, because he was very clear on where he wanted to take this country. And I also am sure that he knows the people who will help him to take this country forward. The other issue on the appointment of persons from the legislature to the executive, I think it is very critical to have people will be able to push your agenda. And we have seen this, and I always refer to America, where persons are elected into the Congress or the Senate, but the president goes and picks them because he thinks that this is the right person, a woman or a man, that will be able to push my agenda. And I think that the president will have a free hand, and democracy is never expensive if you have to get it right. That he will be able to go and get the right people to help him push the agenda. And maybe the other issue, Linda, is that executive is very critical. Kenya, we have the best white papers and blueprints. But when it comes to implementation, that is where the problem is. And especially if we have cabinet that is not in sync with the people, then implementation will be a very big challenge. I know that most of the cabinet secretaries who are taken from bureaucracy, that they had that condescending behavior. Even against Mheshimiwa Gakuya here, I can tell you that a cabinet minister cannot even see an MP. An MP will be kept waiting in an office for 6 hours. I've talked to MPs. And these are people who don't understand that Honorable Jimmy Gakuya is not there for his own purpose, is to serve his constituents in Embakasi. And politics, there are activities that lead to decision making and governance. Politics is not bad. It is only that it has been given a bad name. And when you want to kill a dog, you give it a bad name.
Right.
Therefore, I think the president will consider all those issues, all the interests, regional, gender, political, technocrats in his cabinet. And he has been there, and he has seen it all. We expect that he'll come up with the best cabinet to drive the agenda for this country.
To sum it up, Honorable Gakuya, you are a politician. You also have been at the heart of Nairobi in terms of managing staff. Politicians versus technocrats, what would be the best direction to take? We have seen the previous government hugely going for the technocrats. I don't know whether one would say that it has performed to the expectation of the people, of the constitution, or it has performed dismally owing to that fact.
First of all, Rita, let me just address myself on that issue of late appointments of the cabinet. I would just want to say that actually our constitution does not advocate of any lacuna or vacuum. So those who are in possession has to be there until the day of the handing over.
Yeah.
Because the country has not stopped. It is the country is still moving on, and there are those businesses that have to be transacted on a daily basis, and therefore one has to be there to execute the job. And coming to your question about whether political or technical, let me say you have to be a balance of both, because one thing is that you realize that the blueprints of any single political party. The people who are on the pilot driving are the cabinet positions, and those who sit in the cabinet are the people who execute or implement the business or the agenda of the government. If you have somebody in an office who cannot be able to express or tell the public what the government is doing in his or her docket, then it tells you that that docket is almost idle. And not, even though it's doing anything good, it is not reflecting to the public. And the public need to know on a daily basis, what is this government doing for us? Yeah. And therefore you need somebody who can be able even to tell public what his docket is about to do, and the various number of projects which are offering. And it is in order that the head of state has alluded himself that we have to change the standing orders so that even though the system that we are in is a system where the cabinet ministers cannot stand on the floor of the house to respond to questions, then the standing orders, if they are and that is, I think that is to be done within the shortest time possible, so that if there are issues, the members of the house, things that actually they need to be responded from the cabinet perspective, then those cabinet members can come on the floor of the house and respond those questions or queries. And this one, I think it will require somebody who is a technocrat a bit, and also somebody who is not a naive politically. Okay. Because you need to balance both. And therefore, that is the reason why, as you come to that point of nominating or appointing, you must look for those individuals who you think they will fit. Because really, you don't have to have a dormant kind of a cabinet. You need a driving cabinet that will also assist you to drive your agenda. Yeah. And therefore, I think that balancing the appointing of authority is his duty to strike that balance. I would say technical, you need them, as much as you don't require, you also require people with know-how of how to handle things politically.
All right. Yes. Okay. Let's talk about this revelation, which we do not get lots of details about. CBK boasts shocking revelation and telling members of parliament. The Central Bank of Kenya governor told members of parliament that a golden bag-like scheme was hatched by some rogue banks during the heated political season that led to the shilling's slump to historic lows. Though hesitant to name the culprits, the governor laid bare the difficulties the new government faces in managing the economy going forward. What does this tell the new government? Kenya Kwanza.
In short, what I would say is that what the CBK governor is trying to say is that there are those cartels who hijacks and who at least drives this kind of rates of the shilling rates. And you realize that he's trying to say that some banks has those cartels.
Yes.
Because they hold the dollars, they hide them so that there will be no flow of those dollars. And therefore, the dollar hikes. And therefore, those ones who have had them, they can be able to sell them at a higher rate. And I think if that particular kind of cartel has been at it, and the CBK has, the governor is now already in public stating that kind of a statement, it tells that already they have now rooted to that particular cartel. And anything which should be done has to be acted with immediate effect. So as to make sure that we are not having that kind of pressure in terms of our deteriorating of shillings. You realize that, in fact, even though we say there is those Ukraine war, or there is COVID and so on, we have seen those GDPs of China, America and others are not shaky.
Yes.
But you realize our economy has shaken and our shillings has deteriorated with a very short time.
Yeah.
Therefore, we need to deal with the cartels, number one, so that at least we can be left with the little
problems to fix. All right.
No, I think, leader, you have a problem. When I saw this, and let's be talking these things.
Yeah.
My first question was, 2-3 months ago, there were these people. Where was the governor of Central Bank? He should have said it that day.
More than meets the eye.
We don't know those stories. You are given an office on the behalf of Kenyans to check on us those issues. So why talk now?
And not mention.
Suppose it happened. Right now, we are being told, oh no, you know Kenya, you know Ukraine, you know Russia. We have been saying all along, our problem starts here. Our problem is not in Europe. Our problem is not Ukraine and fuel and Russia. So you can see, we have been saying all along, it's all about management. It's all about state capture. It's all about some people here, some big boys, playing some games around themselves to just masquerade and capture Kenya and the Kenyans. You see, so for me, I would like to ask the governor, with all the respect, kindly let him say, why is he speaking now? He should have kept quiet.
Okay.
I mean, is he speaking because there's a new government? So what happened if Azimio took a government? We would not have known those things.
Okay.
We have just...
Unless it was a part of the cartel.
No, that's what you are saying. And I think, no, but let me ask Moshimo, did you ask him? Because you don't let a man say such a thing. When you hold such a high office, and then you go free. Was he asking the plenary? Maybe
those questions were floated.
All right.
Eric,
yes. More than meets the eye?
My friend here is saying, as if it was Azimio.
That's got into
power. I mean that was the government. That was the government in power.
Is that to say that he's pointing fingers at this?
I don't make argument the way he's making.
All right.
When it's my time, just let me talk kindly. You talk, I keep quiet. So kindly.
Proceed, Eric. You're protected. Yes.
So what I'm trying to say is the government was not Azimio. The government was Jubilee. Okay. The government was Jubilee. Right now, there's a new government, which is Kenya Kwanza. Azimio was not a government. Azimio was a political movement. So if the government Azimio came in, okay, so this was to continue. So this was happening under whose government?
Yeah.
Uhuru Kenyatta's government and Deputy President William Ruto's government. Okay?
Yes.
We are looking at the former, not the latter now, what's happening. So if this was happening, what is the government trying to tell us? That there was some money laundering.
Yes.
Because what he's trying to say, that they had blocked some billions of money that was getting into. So
but the irony of it all is that, again, he goes ahead to say that it will be hard for this current government to manage the economy. And then you ask yourself,
to manage the economy. So which government is going to manage the economy? Which government was there? I mean, this is a question you ask. It is a question of how prudent can we manage ourselves? The same people who are in the former government are the same people who are in this government. You look at it. The former MPs, some of them are back. Okay? The executive that was there, some of it is not still there. Have we changed the police commissioner? Have we changed the National Intelligence Service? Have we changed? No, we are still there. So what he's trying to say is some of these things were kind of happening during, and let me tell you, during election, you need a lot of money. And people are going out to look for money. Some of them will use other roads to get money. It doesn't have to be thought that the big fishes were the one doing where the MPs were getting more money, where some of these MPs were using so much money. Where were they getting all this money? Some were running helicopters all over. So we need to be prudent when we talk. We are not pointing this person or that person. We are looking at cumulatively. When you talk of this government, have you changed everyone and you have a new breed? No. Are the same players, and some of these players are culprit to money movement.
Perhaps that's why I asked, why still have the same face of cabinet if really they were as bad?
And why I came in is because it's accusation. When we talk here, we talk to make Kenyans learn. We don't talk to say if Nani went through. That is not the way we should argue here. We just make things right.
Okay.
Maybe, Rita, what I would want to say is that, and my friend Ragalo here knows, because I know he lives in Kenya, that the Deputy President could not even be afforded the mere greetings in this country. And now, how did you manage him to be a partner in management of the country?
So why do you argue that the right one was?
So the issues here is that President Uhuru Kenyatta and his brother, they were running the administration that ran roughshod over the resources of this country. And when I say that, is that the president is the chairman even today of Azimio, Raumoja, Kenya One Coalition. And when these things were happening, he was the chairman of that coalition, where their candidate was Raila Amolo Odinga. And therefore, not looking very far, you would start imagining where and how these cartels coalesced to ensure that this candidate gets to the presidency. And therefore, it is very unfortunate. Reading what the governor of Central Bank said, it should worry Kenyans. What the governor of Central Bank is telling us is that we have to start afresh. We have to engineer new mechanisms on how to manage our affairs. And that there is not much hope. And we have to tighten our belts because this country is under state capture. And these people will not let go very easily. And therefore, we must be determined, this government must be determined, it must be focused to ensure that the state capture is addressed and that the agenda, we also don't lose focus of our agenda so that we are able to move this country.
If I am requesting to know what is state capture.
State capture now.
Let the Kenyan person know what state capture.
And is that to say that they will go hunting down?
This is your show. I mean,
I also don't know. I also don't know what state capture.
I think I agree.
We are being muzzled here by Gajari.
And I mean, that was my question.
He's asking questions on the
perhaps that was my question. It's just that he jumped to it, but it's fine. I think I'll also ask the same question. When you say that you're going to manage this whole question of state capture, and again, in reference to the previous government, is that to say that then you'll go back hunting down on these individuals? No. Contrary to what then the boss says, that, you know, he tells President Uhuru Kenyatta, will allow you to go and, you know, retire in peace, rest in peace. Not really rest in peace, but yes, have your time of retirement and enjoy it. But then again, if we're talking about state capture, we're talking about the flows of his government. Don't you think they'll be pushed to go hunting down on him?
I don't think so. What I think is that the wrongs that have been done, definitely they must be addressed within the parameters of the law. And what we are saying is that state institutions will be allowed their independence and constitutional mandates to address all the issues that have been of concern to this country. If we cross our eyes to what has happened yesterday, we expect it to repeat itself tomorrow.
That's true.
We have to do everything to ensure that what happened yesterday, like what the governor of Central Bank is saying, that it is not repeated tomorrow. There will be other transitions coming, and we must ensure that we stem that kind of conduct in public affairs.
And therefore, I'd love to ask you.
The state capture is that where businesses were being controlled by a few individuals in this country, and others, it was ensured that there is no infrastructure to allow you to thrive. Like Rida and I have talked about it here, where we have a government agency in China, it inspects goods by our business people, our middle class in China. They are imported into Kenya, they are inspected by another government agency, KRA comes and taxes our business people, but once the products are taken into the shelves in the shops, they are collected and banned, that they are counterfeit. And we know it is other murderings in this government, the former government, that were doing the same businesses, and they did not want competition. That is what we are talking about, state capture. Management of banks, where banks are treated differently. Different roles are applied in the management of banks, and we know which banks were being given that premium treatment, and others which were being trodden on. So therefore, I think this is a question that must be addressed, that it is never repeated again in Kenya for ourselves, our children, and for posterity.
And with this revelation, Mheshimiwa, I'll want to assume that you asked questions, and the questions that have been raised for us to not experience the repeat of the same. And I'd want to believe that the governor of CBK really knew very well that these questions are going to be raised. Why not mention the culprits at this very early stage? And do you think this is something that the DCI should take up before we come to you, Daktari?
One thing, Linda, what you must understand is that how the systems works, those we call state capture, there has to be godfathers that are controlling, that are protecting. And therefore, that could be the reason why even the CBK governor could not be having those guts to come out and speak. Because really, one thing, you cannot be part of the system and still you are the one who is reading in what we call whistleblowing. And therefore, that's what I'm saying. At some point, either he was part of the cartel or he was a silent figure, and therefore he had no single authority over his big fish. Those are taking control of such kind of those kind of actions. And what will happen is that, in fact, now that he has come out to the public and he has just stated what is that is a clear way of now giving the new government a room to strike in, then do its own thorough investigation and weed out all those kind of elements that are part of. Because surely there is no way that you can be able to deal as a big fish without having inside people who are in the system. And they tells us staffs and people within the system are also part of this. And for this to materialize and to be executed, you must have them. Therefore, either you will have to win all of them, but you must also do what we call have a task force, maybe take what we call views, get to know exactly who are these, and then we weed them out. Because even though, if they don't feel to take that action, somebody has been having that behavior. Until that behavior or attitude is changed within the current, now the current system, it will still be a problem.
Still be a problem. And Daktari, you'll agree with what it is that Mheshimiwa speaks of. As they would say, state capture is a type of systemic political corruption in which private interests significantly influence a state's decision-making processes to their own advantage. We might need to understand that the government is gone. It is the government that has gone. The private entities could still be in existence. These are the ones that we speak of when we mention cartels. And they are likely to twist the current government that is coming in. Just how then does this government deal with them to avoid such occurrences where then there's going to be the commissions that were formed or that you're planning to form? And
by the way, when we talk about this capture, it's good to understand, like what you have said. It's not just government.
It is
they work with private entities. It's a whole web. It's a whole web. You may find some farmers are part of the same capture.
That's true.
Where you are going to, you have to sign that you have supplied 1 million bags when they are not supplied. So it's a whole issue. It's a whole web. You're asking a very good question. What happens after this? Now, we want to be very clear, and this is what we are hoping as people in governance, that there's a problem. You want to move people from plan A to point A to point B. You must know what to do. And that's the whole issue about dismantling these people. What we are saying is this. Linda, is not fair. For 10 people, 20, 30, you live somewhere in very good life. Your work is to come and see how you're going to benefit in billions of dollars at the expense of the people on the ground. That's all what we are saying. Let there be something for everyone. And that's very evil. But I want to say this. Linda, the issue of a lot of money needed for campaigns is not a reason to do golden bag things. It's not a reason. I mean, everybody vied. He vied. I mean, everybody vied. The president, he vied on Kenya Kwanza. He was a presidential. He never went to do state capture to get money.
You need to know. You need to know that the central bank governor has not mentioned the culprits. You need to understand that.
No. Linda, let me make one point on this. Linda, let me make this point. Let me make one point. There was a government in power, right? This government, the president in power was the chairman of Azimio. Please, let's not go.
The deputy president was part and parcel of this and also was running campaigns on this other side.
You're causing Eric too. You don't want to stand up in the studio. No.
Yes.
Please. Why is Leader, you are the one in charge. I'm talking through you. I'm not talking. Eric.
He's protected, but then again, let's be factual.
Let me put it this very well. First of all, it is very wrong. We love Dr. Njoroge so much. He's a devout Christian, Catholic, and when he says something, the only question we're asking, why couldn't he raise the red flag then? That's a very good question. It's a fair question, right?
Yes.
Number two, we are saying that there was a government and a system in place.
Right.
We don't want to go there because we are past there. I mean, we have gone through a lot. God has helped us to go through elections, petitions, IBC. We are here in a new government. But we are just saying, God help this country. God help this country to ever avoid such kind of cartels, state capture, to milk Kenyans. Because at the end of the day, somebody will pay. Somebody will pay. When millions of shillings, when there is issues about dollars and there's confusion, the person who pays is you at the pump station, either you at the supermarket. It's a Kenyan who pays all these kind of things. We are saying it's high time. Please, if you want to make money in Kenya, go find a trade. Go trade so that you can make money like any other person. We have to let go of this thing. And so we are saying, thank God. God helped us as Kenyans. God saw those things we didn't know. CBK governor didn't tell us. That's why God opted, let's have a new president who is going to dismantle the cartels. Ruto said one thing, the moment I do the Bible, the moment I am sworn in, can we give him time to do with the cartels? Let us not panic. I mean, they were there, they were part of the system, and now let other people do some work.
Is that a polite way of telling us that he knows
what we are saying is that state capture cannot be driven by people who don't hold the instruments of power.
It's not possible.
The power of coercion at that level is on the government in power has monopoly over it. We know that the president of Kenya today, William Ruto, did not have such powers. And therefore he could not have been the driver of this state capture that the central bank governor alluded to. The other issue is that those who participate with those in governance and those holding instruments of state to ensure that state capture thrives for their sectoral and pedestrian benefit, they are those aligned to those in charge, the drivers of the state capture. And you know those obviously are those that were supporting the Azimio side of the formation. And therefore, I don't think there is much discussion about this. State capture is about those holding instruments of power and their allies. And we know who are those people at the time that the central bank governor is alluding to.
Okay. Eric.
Wow. What I want to say about state capture is that there's a problem here. We tend to want to accuse people other than thinking on how to manage our country and see the way forward to some of these things. Business in Kenya is done by people, and international communities who want to do business in Kenya cannot do directly. They have to do through companies that are formed in Kenya. Or rather, if an international community wants to do a job in Kenya, a Kenyan must be part of the directors of the company. You understand? So I'll give an example. We built superhighway under the name China Roads and Bridges Company. That was not the company. The company is actually Kenyan. The Chinese are the Wuyi, Shengli, and Sinohydro. But the company is China. So that company brings Wuyi, Sinohydro, and the other companies to work under it. So there are people who we have to accept they are more money than others in this country. They can do bigger business. For example, Kenya want to bring salt. I don't want to go to other names because somebody may think I'm attacking other people. So Kenya want to bring salt. How can salt come to Kenya? Through some country called Arabia, for example. So a company in Arabia will be contracted to bring salt under a company in Kenya. And there are people who can afford to do that for us. Are you getting this?
Right.
So they will sell us salt. We are told this salt is from Arabia, but how did it come in? So
through a local agency.
Yeah, look, through a local agency. So now, what is state capture? It's not that company doing business. It is that company now using its political connections to manage and influence policies that will advantage it to do business in Kenya. Is that not what you're saying? Mm-hmm. And that is what we want to tell Kenyans. Some of these things need to change. And if the policies are done, is that even the smaller companies are allowed to do business. For example, you can say 75% go to the big lords, the big moneyed. The 25% is shared within the Kenyans that have minimal, so they can also be able to come in. So that is what I'm saying. But state capture basically is using the policies of the country and manipulating them to fit you. That is the state capture. So that is business-wise.
Right.
But now here we are being told that there are banks and money lenders, Forex Bureau, who used to hoard dollars or recreate and refresh dollars, meaning they were doing wash.
Well, this is interesting. And
if you read there, so it's not state capture. So what happened during that time? We are not aware. I am not aware. So I can't discuss what I don't know. But I'm asking the government, such scenarios will not happen. So Eric will never win because Eric will not be able to bring in outplay dollars. Next election, I'll be wanted to raise over 30 million. I only have 5 million. I'll lose because politics is money, money is politics. We have to be honest.
Does that justify, or does that really explain why we have this story making the headlines today? Queries over 55 billion spent in last days of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Where did the money go? Members of Parliament are raising questions regarding colossal amounts of money allocated to various government ministries and agencies days to the end of the Uhuru term, at a time when the country faced a huge foreign debt and food and fuel subsidy crisis. And does it then justify their argument that perhaps these monies were being channeled towards, fueling the campaign of the Azimio side?
He said it himself, actually. He answered that question. He said there was a lot of money going out because of the campaigns and all that. Yeah, so which is illegal.
And how then will this, in such a scenario, and we need to get to the bottom of it, how then can you confidently say that the Kenya Kwanza government will not go for president?
You're asking the good thing that you are doing. You're asking a very good question. Actually, you are living in the present going forward. You're asking, this happened, how will it make sure it will not happen? It is one thing, political goodwill.
Hold it right there. How do we make sure, how are we confident that then the Kenya Kwanza government will not go for President Uhuru Kenyatta? Because even if you look at this story, it is his face that is there.
But for me, I want to say one thing. I am against doing governance going backwards, personally. Okay. I'm against. I don't, these things of the issue, for example, of going for anybody, let go. You are not elected by the people of Kenya to go backwards. You are elected to rectify. What
happens to justice for the people of Kenya?
Now,
the same ones that actually...
For me, from where I sit, Mheshimiwa is here, they do legislation and all, and the other people are here. If you ask me, there's too much work to do later going forward, such that if you begin doing commissions and all that to do all that, for me, where I sit, it's like you're elected today for an MP or governor. By the time you take 2 years, go to look for ghosts, other ghosts are developing. So you are supposed to get a positional power going forward. I'm against. What we need to do, investigations is good to be done so that we don't repeat the same mistakes. Do the investigations, find out what happened, look at the magnitude of what happened.
And let those ones that are culprits work scot-free?
No. At that point, when the investigations are done, and it is found that no, this is too much, that time the authorities will take a decision. I'm against things like what happened, like witch hunt, you know, like going back, you know, holding these people. Then it will not be faced with what is happening today. The DP is arguing he did work 20 years ago. He's being held in court today because of things that if you look at them critically, there's no case. So why do we want to do the same witch hunt? For me, I'm for do investigations, bring all the facts, let the governor come and tell us in details now what exactly was happening. Let us see the magnitude. If, of course, if there's a very big criminal or civil liability, of course the law will take its course. But for me, I'm for, can we build this nation going forward?
Rida, maybe if I wait.
Make it very brief so we can allow Eric.
What I would be saying is this, that nobody should go for anybody or for nobody. But then the law should be allowed to take its course.
Okay.
Let the independent and constitutional offices that are mandated to look at those issues look at those issues with impartiality. Let them make decisions. Let them make conclusions. Let them make recommendations. And then if there is anybody who will go for anybody, it will be the law going for someone because of their either criminal or civil liability. And I think that is how democracies work. That is how countries that are governed under the law, under their constitutions, that is how they manage their affairs. You don't go for anybody, let the law manage those situations because the law has addressed all those issues, how they should be addressed conclusively to serve justice to everyone.
All right.
Later, what I would say is that in order for us to come to the open, it's also important to know that almost everybody within the system, including these investigation commissions, were near compromise. And therefore, there is such a time that a leader you find like we have issues like KEMSA, and we have still people just roaming around and nothing is taking place. Therefore, it tells you that this state capture has equally captured the investigation commissions, and therefore they have no say. And that's why they have dossiers, but they cannot take their dose anywhere because somebody somewhere actually is holding a whip. And in this particular case, what I would say is we have Auditor General Office, which are not an independent office. And I believe that, in fact, in case of any wastage or misuse of funds, I think he will sweep in very, very quickly, do his part, give recommendations, and let those recommendations the action be taken along that line.
All right.
In terms of our investigation commissions, also, those who are tainted more, the government has a duty either to transfer or sack those senior officers, bring new faces who will be having convicts, and that the people who can be able to take you through in the next level.
Right.
But you cannot tell us you have been there, you have been part of this, and you want us just to sit and wait you just prolonging with your market deals. We can't allow that.
Okay.
Therefore, there has to be a new beginning. Yes, and there has to be casualties.
Well, do you have hope that there's going to be a new beginning, Eric Ragalo, when we have, the scrapping off of fuel subsidy and unga that was scrapped off by the previous government, we know, but also the coming in of subsidy of fertilizer at a time when, again, we have drought, no rains, lots of confusion. Going to be a tough one, really, for the current government.
Yeah, it's a tough one, Linda. It's a really tough one for the current government, and the current government came with a notion that the handshake had brought all these problems.
Yeah.
And the handshake had caused a high cost of living. The handshake had messed everything up. When they came in, they found things status quo must remain the same. However, we don't want to say it was politics. They were playing politics. Unasikia mwamba ngoma uvutia kwake. So we haribu ongea vile unaongea, but when now things dawns on you, when you seated there, you realize, so this unga can't come to 70. So it's an non-issue. It's fine. Unga will be where it is. because of things that are beyond even them. Now they understand there was beyond even others. So coming to fertilizer, we are going to a short rain planting season. Rain should be anywhere in October is near. And it's prudent that we have fertilizer reduced so that cost of production goes low, and that would manage the pricing of many other things in months to come. Then after 6 months rather, we could say the unga can come down. That one is reasonable, but it was not reasonable to have unga come down immediately. It was not going to happen.
Right.
So now the issue that I'm having is how we going to manage fertilizer going to everyone, because not everyone is registered with NCPB. And NCPB, how it is distributed, some areas really, it's very far. And for you to get fertilizer from NCPB, so it will cost transportation, and that is still cost overhead that is going to affect production. So how will we handle that? Small-scale farmers, how will they be cushioned from the large-scale farmers? Large-scale farmers could finish the fertilizer. The small-scale farmers, how much fertilizer will they get, and how will they transport it? That's another question. The third one, and I want to request to know, is how, after we have had this fertilizer, and we have the rain, tumepanda, mimea imekuja, at what point then will again NCPB take the produce? Because again you have an issue with the NCPB, is when the time of taking the produce comes, you'll find people queuing and they're not taking the produce. So we have the maize and our cereals rather going bad. So we have aflatoxin all over. And that's a serious one again, because aflatoxin getting to our males is a cancer. So the main issue I would request to know is how are the people from the mountain going to be cushioned on this, since NCPB depots in Mount Kenya are really few. There are the 5. We have one in Maua, Meru, Thika, Maragua, Muranga. Do you have another one? I don't think. Ishiara, I think. Ishiara. And then these other ones are in Mount, are rather in Nakuru, Elbagon, Keringet. I'm trying to remember all the ones. There are very few. And farmers here are very many. So how are they going to be cushioned? Like a farmer in Lari, who need to pick the fertilizer in Thika. The distance from Lari to Thika is very long. So how is that farmer going to get fertilizer, incurring the transportation issue? That is where we need to get, and that is where I need us to cushion the farmer so that everybody's produce may not differ in production levels.
Which is very, very important. Valid questions right there. Gentlemen, allow us to take a quick short break, and perhaps any of you who could be having knowledge on the same then would service us with this information after the short break.
You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories.
Je, maumivu ya kichwa na kukosesha amani? Kaluma Strong hutuliza maumivu ya kichwa, maumivu ya...
Disability is not only limited to physical disorder, but also mental issue. From depression.
I was under depression for like 2 years.
Bipolar.
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
And even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective. we identify a property, discuss and demonstrate the journey towards ownership.
Professionals who have integrity, and from their catalog you can easily read that these are professionals who are able to deliver.
Everywhere you go, you have to up your games, you have to go with the trends.
Not forgetting the margins as well as the risks that come along.
The runaway prices of the land. We are saying that it's something that we can never go without mentioning. Any developer will not go without mentioning price of land.
Don't miss out.
Welcome back to the broadcast. Still with me in studio, and this is the very last lap of this segment, Mheshimiwa Jimmy Gakuya, as well as Dr. Peter Mbae, and also Dr. Eric Ragalo, and as well as Honorable Ndegwa Wahome. We come to a close. Ndegwa Wahome, you wanted to respond to Eric.
Yes, what I wanted to say is that there is a very elaborate network on supply of fertilizer, if it is there, because we have agricultural extension officers who are able to assess what a farmer needs, and actually even how many bags that are required. And to give an example of Nyandarua, there are depots almost everywhere, in almost every sub-county where the fertilizer is delivered, and it is easily accessible to the farmers. We have never had any problem about delivering the fertilizer to the farmers. The problem has always been availability of these subsidized fertilizer. That has been the main issue. And what we have been saying as Kenya Kwanza is if there is proper management of resources of this country, and we have to repeatedly talk about this state capture, about the inflated cost of building roads. We have very beautiful roads, but you find that they are costing as many as 4 times the cost of the building the same road in within our neighbors like Tanzania and Uganda. And these are monies that would have been given priority in agriculture, Kenya being a food basket. You know this hardship, you know, Dr. does not like me talking much about the hardship. You know that was a disaster. From that, what the hardship has cost this country, even in terms of providing fertilizers for farmers, so that we don't need to subsidize unga. So the forces of the market would have been able to feed this country, even on the area of petroleum. But with the hardship, the political mobilization in this country became so heightened. And if it would cost this country 55 billion in 3 months, you can start imagining what it has cost us in 4 years. Because from 2018, after the March 19 hardship, there has been heightened political mobilization across this country. Starting with the BBI, it was brought even to the villages, a good idea, but very poorly thought out. And then there is this project of the presidency to have BAMBA as the president. All that, those issues, if they were properly and with moderation addressed, we should not be talking about subsidizing. We should have been able to go to the root cause of problems of hunger and food production in this country and ensured that everybody is comfortable. The same case applying to the issue of petrol. Otherwise, it's a sad day. That is where we are, and we have to deal with it.
Leader, I think the best thing on this is that we need to kill these cartels. And you realize that, in fact, even in this fertilizer subsidy, the beneficiary there before has been the cartel. These brokers, you realize that, in fact, the fertilizer is brought, but actually it has been taken away by the brokers, and which will just sell back to the farmers on higher prices. And therefore, what was their intention to do is not realized. And I think in this particular procedure, there has to be a clear registration where every farmer is known and is known what an acreage he owns, and probably that's why there is a limit of 100 bags to those who are large-scale farmers. But the consideration of that other farmers have to fit inside between 1 to 100 bags, and without having a criteria, then you still get back to the cartel route. But with a registration, you'll be knowing exactly this farmer A is a farmer from this particular area, is known by that agricultural officer, and his farming scale is at this range, and therefore having this number of fertilizer, he's okay. But if we cannot kill the cartels which have been there, the problem will still persist, and the farmer will not get value of what we are intending to, because we are intending to bring down the cost of inputs in farming, and we cannot realize that if still we retain the same cartels on that field.
All right, so it's one thing to get excited about the subsidy. It's another to put it to use. It's another to get, results out of it. And like I started by saying, well, we could be excited about this whole thing about what the farmer is going to do. There are restrictions to it, that every farmer should get 100 bags. And we're also talking about lack of rains brought across. We understand that water is a big, big problem. And so amidst all this excitement, how does the Kenya government work around things to make sure that indeed what they envision is successful?
That's important, Linda. Number one, we are saying, let's talk one thing for sure.
Right.
Fertilizers, for example. Was it promised? Yes. Is it there? Yes. Or what we are saying, can it go fast to where the voters are? Let's go to that serious board in the village, number one. I mean, so that we are not only going to the people in the villages, when we are going to look for the polling stations in the primary schools in the village, but when we're talking about fertilizer, we are telling them, go to the nearest sub-county office. The farmers should get these things where they vote. Those local areas, they know where to get. That's number one. And of course, Linda, we cannot allow somebody to come in and take 1,000 bags when somebody needs only 10 or 5 or 20. It's all about moderation. A time will come very soon in the future when you can take 10,000 if you wish.
You want, yeah.
But for now, it's a crisis. We are trying to, first of all, manage. We are trying to put down the prices.
Right.
But going forward, once we put in energy on production, and I will say this again, some people, they were very upset, saying, how can you say that? Once you put in efforts on production, consumption will take care of itself. But you cannot concentrate on consumption. This is a subject in political economy. How you manage politics, how you manage economy in a political situation. You put in production, naturally, I can tell you, once you lower the prices of seeds, chemicals, everything that goes into, for example, maize farming, the whole thing will sort itself, because the prices the cost will come down, and then the market. The other thing we have to do is guaranteed minimum, such that I know when I'm doing 50 acres of maize commercially, I'm going to put in how much per acre in terms of seeds and fertilizer, and what am I getting? It's a commercial thing, because I'm doing this to give food for the issue of food security. I'll tell you this year, I didn't farm. Linda, I didn't farm. I have 50 acres. I normally go to FC, field forms, pick money, commercially. I hire a manager, go buy this. But this time, when the mathematics were done, I said, I'm out of it. I'm not going to buy fertilizer for 6,500. Right. So imagine how many people lost the opportunities. All the people in my 50 acres of maize, all that. So we are saying, if I don't want three things. Because I can go to FC, pick a loan and go and do my farming. But let there be the cost of production be low. It's going to work. Now, you are saying there all those issues. Look, once we hit the issue of once the fuel comes down,
right,
it will come down naturally. Don't force things. I am against artificial mechanical things of doing things, because it's not sustainable. Linda, Kenya Kwanza is here for the next 5 years, yes, and maybe God will another 5 years. So why do you want to do quick fixes to appease people, like what we saw the Unga thing? So let's impeach that issue of Unga subsidy. We want to do things differently. There's all this issue of doubt and all that. For example, right now we are doing with the short lanes. The one thing about governance, don't begin solving the problems of next year this year. Solve the issues here today. Look at what they are doing. They are saying, no. 14 billion fuel subsidy is not sustainable. Let it go. Kenyans, let's brave ourselves. I mean, it's painful. I can't imagine. I mean, you are putting in fuel. By the time you make 2 rounds, it's over. But for now, so that we can get a better ending. It's all about strategy and planning. Let's fix the issues of health. Let's fix issues of education. Let's fix issues of food security, housing, where it's going to employ so many people. Once we do those things, food security, value addition, and above all, very important, Linda, partnership with the county governments. I'll keep on saying this. Every time we talk about national government, we have another 47. 47 governments. Right. If we can have a partnership, let's stop where we had a very bad experience with Jubilee, where you are fighting, you don't know who you are fighting. You are fighting your own father. You know, there's a separation between your father and mother. You don't know where to go, whether to go with the mother or the father. We are leaders. There is a disconnect. Everybody is fighting whoever. The central government is fighting the county governments. Can we have some order? And that's why I'm happy for what is happening in Parliament. There's no harm by the government in power having majority in National Assembly and Senate, right, so that the emotions can run. Let's give peace to this government. And I keep on saying, one thing, once you elect a government, I'll keep on saying that every time I'm here, once you elect a government, support it. Give it time.
Interestingly, we will have some moment to discuss about the Kenya Kwanza government and whether it holds for 5 years. Now that you're pointing, we are not prophesying doom, but it is important.
No.
With the politics that
and most likely 10. We are planning for 10.
Okay, well,
we are planning for 10
that in 10 years we'll have Mudavadi, we'll have Rigathi Gachagua, we'll have Deputy
But for now,
President.
We actually plan 27. We want to have like 70-80%.
Let's close this conversation. Mheshimiwa, your parting shot.
My parting shot is that, in fact, leader, whatever we expecting to get from the government, one, I still reminding and urging Kenyans that we must now forget about the politics of the election, because the election is already a gone case, and now it's hitting the road. And hitting the road is that everybody must take part where you belong. If you are a hunter, move on. If you are a farmer, move on. If you are a fisherman, move on. If you are a businessman, move on. Let us work, because it's only hard work who will give us the end result.
Yes.
And there is no money that the government has of its own. The government depends on you, and therefore it is your hard work that will enable the government to spur back what it will collect.
Eric Ragalo.
Thank you so much. I need to tell Kenyans that elections are over. It's time now to get back to work. And I want to tell our friends who campaigned and won the election, it's your time to show us what you can do. You pointed a finger on other people, forgetting that 3 fingers were pointing at you. So now work to ensure that all the 5 fingers points at one direction. I wish the government all the best, and we are going to be in opposition, thoroughly watching and making sure you do your best. Not watching to make sure you fail, no. Watching to make sure you do your best and make sure that you give Kenyans the best. The best I look at is, one, play your political economy very well. Make sure we have good healthcare, good housing, more importantly, food. Those 3 things will make us win together.
Okay.
Opposition is not an enemy. Opposition is somebody who makes sure you work harder. And that's why opposition is the fuel that pushes the car. So I am the fuel. You are the car. Drive the car, I'll push you forward. All the best to Kenya Kwanza.
All the best to them, I agree. Mheshimiwa.
Okay, thank you very much, Linda. I would also want to join hands with my colleagues to say that this is the time for Kenyans to work. Go back to what you do best. And it is hard work that will be rewarded by this administration. And that is per the dictates of the Constitution and the law for you to get your rightful space. We don't expect freebies from this government. You eat our own sweat. And therefore, I will urge Kenyans, my brothers and sisters, let us go to work and be able to work for ourselves, our children, our nation, and for posterity. And again also, I would want to say that Kenya Kwanza, we have a very beautiful manifesto, a very beautiful blueprint. Let us implement it. If we implement just 50% of what is in the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, in 2027, President William Ruto does not require to campaign in this country. We just require to go around and tell the Kenyan people how he has helped them to achieve their dreams and aspirations. And finally, is for parliament leader, we never discussed this on the issue of majority and minority
and that was
in the
the
National
main
Assembly.
Yes.
is that, and Dr. Ragalo is here, and I know he knows better than me, that actually let us not disturb the order that is in the country. The Azimio One Kenya coalition, it knows its place. It is in the minority. It has no MP in the National Assembly. Those parties have their individual membership, and Kenya Kwanza is the majority party in the National Assembly, and then we move the agenda of this country forward. Even when they are in the minority, they are still in government. Parliament is an arm of government.
Ragalo, you want to say something?
No. I just want to say there is no opposition. We are in parliamentary system. So minority, majority, we are in one government. Like I said, I wish you all the best, Kenya Kwanza.
Do you agree that the minority then is Azimio One Kenya?
Well, after having bought our people.
I mean,
the numbers read the numbers speaks.
Mheshimiwa, kwa sababu wewe ndio watenda kumalizia, lakini let's talk. I like the way doctor anaongea vizuri, lakini saa nyingine anaharibu. Anaongea like the closing remarks were very nice.
You killed his morale.
Ragalo with a win.
No, exactly. Let me say this. Let's go slowly. Once you do things, once you rush to change laws and do stuff, especially if you think you're in government and in power, be on the lookout. Tomorrow you'll not be in power.
Yeah.
And we have been saying these things. Don't rush to do things and use your powers and marshal everybody and begin praising yourself that you have done something. The laws are going to eat you up. The biggest problem in Africa, we do laws and change laws and constitution to suit ourselves, not to suit the generation. Now, that's what has befallen Azimio. They did all those things trying to march around and play around laws, thinking they are going to be beneficiaries. But today, they are crying. It is very simple. Is it tomorrow actually? When are you going back? We want the induction to be done. We want that story to be finished as soon as possible. So as Azimio can know next time, don't go and wish your opponent ill because you're going to fall in the same pit. I think that's our summary.
And you know, I really wanted us to talk that.
And the sad thing is,
the majority and the minority.
And we are not boasting, we are not shouting, we are doing slowly, like from the president. We go to the speakers of both the houses. Speakers of both the houses. Now we are going to majority. We are like that slowly, and then we begin governing. And then they watch how we are going to do it.
Then what are you going to give me?
They have been.
What are you going to give me now that you're taking?
Behind the cameras, Mheshimiwa is not that guy.
Because he's a Kenyan and he has equal opportunity.
Right. Yes, that's true.
So nobody is going to go to Somalia because they're in Azimio. We want everybody to live in this country.
I'll be the director in CPB, Nitagawa Fertilizer.
You know, Rida, I went to the National Assembly and to the Senate to really advise on the shortfalls of the political parties amendment bill then, 2022. And we had a very serious memorandum. But then at that time, Daktari here, they were serving just personal, sectoral and pedestrian interests, not for the tomorrow of this country. And it will come to eat them up.
And clearly, that's the reason why we see them shifting gears and allegiance.
They are never. They are not.
But the laws are clear as well. They're not supposed to shift allegiance just like that. And maybe that's why I'd say it's misplaced to say it's because those ones that are under Azimio are shifting to this other side.
Freedom of association is supreme. It's in the Constitution on its own, a whole article, and he knows.
Yes.
It's freedom of association.
Fortunately for us.
And so they're going to use that.
You cannot kill.
Fortunately for that leader is that Wetangula will have a very easy time, the speaker.
Declaring
because the constitution is superior to the political parties acts,
yes.
And when there is conflict between the two,
the
constitution prevails.
Yes.
So we are going to have it very easy. So that's why I'm telling them not to continue.
What happens to the constituents who believed in these people under a certain party? You want to overlook them equally? Remember, their interest is supreme in the constitution.
They said that the coalition party they were forming was based on ideology. We believe that ideology has not died. And they will cultivate their unity around that ideology, which we don't understand today.
I remember you come and say, I have found that what I stand for,
just a secondary,
you stand for. And then you sign a coalition
agreement. Mine is just one sentence. Supremacy of the constitution is in the people. Yes. And the people can do it directly or indirectly through their elected
members of parliament.
Yes. So the people voted these people knowing they're in Azimio. Okay. And they trusted in Azimio. So they voted them because there were other Kenya Kwanza people there. But now, as he says, freedom of association, he forgets also the people are now crying, we gave these people job here, they have gotten here. So are they representing the people, having gone against the people's aspiration? So it's here and there. So that's why I'm saying some things we are not judges, because only judges can interpret the constitution.
And that's why there's something called post-election coalition, to take care of whatever happened, people realign and say, now this is the government, my ideologies, I want to align my ideologies. Because you are voted by the people to make independent decisions by the Wanjiku. Right. So you come here and say, look, this government's in power, my ideology, I want to align them. If I go and the president, for example, of the leading coalition, promises me that they are going to work together to serve my people, then you go there. That's why there is post-election coalitions. Thank you, Dr.
And the sovereign, the sovereign of the people is still in place. And I can tell you for sure, if there could be any clamor in the regions where these people has crossed over, then we could have heard from the people. But the people are silent.
Uganda was clamor.
No, that is Uganda, and it's only one case. And therefore, that case we can say, oh.
And also, we are going to do civic
and read that Dr. Ragalo here knows that those people are mobilized to come and shout against the there was, you could tell that it never came from.
Plus, who wants to be out of government?
I mean,
including the people they don't.
No, not really that, because also you want a strong opposition, and he has said himself he want to be opposition. But
he doesn't want to be opposition.
But what you are saying, for example, you are elected as independent, for sure. Independent is independent. You have to align the will of your people to some institution that you think is going to serve your people. So I think what as me is coming to, I think all their plans and strategies and policies, I think the thinking through was not there. I think they are crumbling one day after the other. Like
one of the stories, one of the big stories.
There was a problem with the BBI. It came and went with everything, crumbling down. They didn't have a turning center. Right now they are running up and down. Imagine you have been there, government and coalition and principle and all that, and Azimia and principle, and you are catching up. But it's God. That is what God does. Let's wait for this country. We want to tell you the confusion we want to avoid is where you have a minority there and you want to govern. Right now, and Mwashimo will tell you, I think Kenya has about 10 to 15 laws already done. They are waiting for them to go there, let them be passed, including the Hustlers Fund. And by the way, let me tell Kenyans, Hustler Fund was not, immediately President Ruto takes oath, tomorrow you begin dishing. It's a law. There has to be some governance. How will the money go to the constituencies?
And some regulations.
And some regulations. So what we say, we are seeing a time, very interesting time here, Linda, whereby we could have a government that has full control, including majority of governors. And even those who are not in Kenya, Kwanza. The president is on record. He's going to work with all elected leaders.
Right.
Because he's a leader of everywhere. Okay. So that gives out of hope even to the opposition. And let's move on this country together. I mean, there's media, within 100 days, we'll be going to ask questions, and questions are going to be answered.
And if Kenya Kwanza succeeds, the whole Republic of Kenya
succeeded. That's true. And I think I agree to what Eric said, that moving forward, we all want to fuel this car. We all want to fuel it forward. Gentlemen, thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. Last speaker, Mheshimiwa James Gakuya, Embakasi North Member of Parliament. Thank you for gracing the show as always. And next to Mheshimiwa is Dr. Peter Mbae, who's a governance and leadership expert. Asante sana Daktari. Dr. Eric Ragalo as well, governance and political expert. Thank you so much, Daktari. I hope they will consider you right after this. We have this conversation. And lastly, Honorable Ndegwa Wahome, who's also a wakili and also the chair of the county assemblies. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Mheshimiwa. We close it, not in totality. I hope we could get a hold of Chichi Josephine, but in the event that we